Hello and welcome to Tantrum Mouse Studio Awesome. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Katie, and in this review video, we will talk about G.I. Joe Mission Critical by Renegade Games, and we'll talk about why Snake Eyes might be a little OP. In G.I. Joe Mission Critical, 2 to 5 players will take on the role of G.I. Joe heroes who battle Cobra operatives in 4 locations around the board. Players will have action tokens that they can spend and choose any player to take the turn without there being any set order. Now, we'd like our viewers to keep in mind that this copy of the game is on loan from a friend and has sleeved cards and sports some hand-painted minis. The game comes with the standard unpainted minis.
Each hero has their own battle deck that has a few surprising uses in the game. In battle, the deck is used to provide attacks, maneuvers, or reactions. The deck is also used when heroes take damage. For example, this hero gets hit for 5 damage, and the player flips cards off the top of their deck until at least 5 shields are revealed. If a hero runs out of cards in their draw pile during a battle, they are defeated. In that way, the deck is also sort of like their hit points.
Players can overcome deck depletion by taking the recover action. That will add cards back into their draw pile or by returning to the pit and then shuffling their entire discard pile back into their deck.
The game ends when too many heroes have been defeated, when too many regions have become panicked, or when the heroes defeat the boss and win.
The game has a few expansions and extra scenarios that you can play that will really change up how the game works and how the game plays. There's some advanced locations that come with the base deck, like the Command Center Assault, which is a little bit harder mode for different play. It's fully compatible with Power Rangers Heroes of the Grid. And it does say that it will be compatible with all future Guardian games.
This game plays in around an hour, maybe more. Playing 2 players with 2 heroes each, they have 3 actions each player. And then playing 3 players, you have 4 actions each. 4 players, you have 3. 5 players, you only have 2. So depending on the player count, you really have to think about, how am I using my actions, because your flexibility wanes and waxes with how many players.
It's true. This game, I think maybe the standout feature, I would say, for this game is how it uses its deck. How it uses the deck in battle specifically, not with how the cards are used, like with what's on the faces, but how we described with it being used as your HP, kind of. So flipping the cards over when you take damage, you turn them over, you look for the little shields, and then you have to discard that many cards, but then that lowers your ability to stay in that battle. You also have a choice at the beginning of each battle of drawing up to 5 cards, but you don't have to draw that many. So it's interesting the way that's done. I'm not sure I've seen a whole lot of other games that have done that sort of style use of cards in a deck.
Okay, Katie, what was your least favorite part of G.I. Joe Mission Critical?
I think my least favorite part is I feel like the gameplay can be just a little bit sort of same kind of feel throughout. Like, I really would have liked the encounters and battles to feel a little bit more like they were different. Like, I wanted this battle to feel a little different than the one before, whereas I don't really get that. You're rolling your dice, you're spending or not spending your cards, and I just sort of was hoping for something a little bit different between the different battles that you end up doing. Kind of with that, and probably part of the reason I felt like the battles felt really similar was because we played with Snake Eyes. I didn't personally play with Snake Eyes, but the Snake Eyes character has a card that specifically says that they could play that card, and if they defeat somebody, they can return it back to their hand, which is a really cool effect. But coupled with the Snake Eyes ability that they can roll an extra dice unless somebody else has already played a card in that battle, makes that one, I think there's actually 2 copies of that card, makes that a really powerful card, because then you're rolling 3 dice, you're not using any of the collective energy to do it, and the card goes back in your hand. So for a lot of our battles, we ended up saying, okay, you're playing Snake Eyes, you've got that cool card, why don't you just hit them? And I sort of sat there. I think for the first 30 minutes of the game, my character didn't actually play any cards. And maybe it was because that player was just rolling well, rolled a lot of hits. I don't know what you think, Ryan. Ryan had a sort of a support character that was able to say, oh yeah, re-roll that. And so he was able to help out a little bit, but I sort of felt a little useless. And like I said, for the first 30 minutes, I didn't actually play any cards in any of the battles.
Yeah.
And so I feel like the Snake Eyes character might be a little OP because of that. But maybe it's just because the rolls were going well for that player. I don't know. I'm not sure. What do you think?
Yeah. So I think my least favorite part was probably, like, there's a dedicated deck for each of the lieutenants and the bosses, but ultimately it almost felt like it was too simple of a game, because the basic game is just move, battle, or recover, and then when you're in the battle, you only have a few things you're doing each time, and it just, like you said, same old. We're just doing the same thing every time. I don't know if it was quite that bad, but yeah, it feels like it might be just a little bit too simple. The expansions definitely help shake that up a little bit, adding some variation there. But the base game, I think, yeah, it might be, pushing on the little bit too simplistic.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So what do you think is your favorite part of the game?
So I think my favorite part of the game is probably that this is a cooperative game, because I do like co-op games. A co-op game that you can play with 2 to 5 people, which is 5 people is kind of a lot for a co-op game. And that although the gameplay was fairly simplistic, you feel like your chances of winning aren't like, it's not like super easy to win, is what I should say. I do feel like, like, even though I felt like maybe we were spamming Snake Eyes' ability, that we weren't just having a runaway lead over the bad guys. So I did like that there was that bit of like, okay, are we going to make it? Because a cooperative game for me needs to have a little bit of a nail biter ending. Like, are we going to make it? Or are we not? I don't know. So I do feel like it had that, which I liked.
Yeah, I think that it had some great minis. I liked all of the minis. I liked that everybody had a unique deck that was totally them, and so they had their own specific role in the game. Mm-hmm. So I played Duke, and he was very much a support character, but he could do some combat too. So that was good. I thought that it did a good job. It wasn't staying completely away from the bane of all co-op games, is if a co-op can be played just by one person quarterbacking, then I don't feel like it's really a co-op game. It's just a single player game with added people. So I think this is a little bit staving off the quarterback syndrome of co-op games, because you don't necessarily know what people have in their hand, but you communicate and figure it out. So there is a lot of playing by consensus, but I think it did a good job, and I did really like the variety amongst the minis and character powers.
Yeah. So that was our take on G.I. Joe Mission Critical.
Thanks for joining us, and be sure to stay tuned to our channel for more reviews and previews and other video content like this.
What was I gonna say else?
I think that was it.
I was gonna say something else. Okay, hold on.